So my question for you this morning is, do you need focus? Are you okay not being focused? Wives, are you okay if your husbands don't listen to you and they're not focused on you in the middle of a conversation? How does that make you feel? Kids, how does it make you feel when dad doesn't listen? When you tell him the exact thing that you want, he's like, what? Or they repeat something to you that you just said. How about this idea? Those are focus. That's how we focus in a conversation, but we focus in life as well. James Clear wrote this in his book, Atomic Habits, and it's where you spend your attention is where you spend your life. I believe that's true, and I believe it's true when it comes to destructive relationships, healthy relationships, an obsessive habit, an addiction, your love, your relationship to Christ. Where you spend your attention is where you spend your life. We're in the middle of a series, and the series is called Disruptions 2020. Another disruption that we talked about last week was lack of focus. We're talking about lack of focus this week, but last week we talked about the integrity and how important it was to have integrity with lack of control. We discussed that with lack of control because of trauma, we go for 4 different things. We try to grasp for those. We grasp for magical ideas. We come up with ideas that we think no one came up with, like for a cure. We blame other people. We predict what's going to happen, even though we have no idea. We don't even have enough information at this point to predict anything, especially if we're going to talk about COVID-19. We also go into excessive behaviors. We go into behaviors that are not normal for us. But if we take a lack of focus, it just complicates life even more in the last 2 months. We focused what was in front of us. Did you notice that? That's where your focus was. It wasn't on your normal things. It was on what people were pushing on you. I said in March, that fear will spread faster than COVID-19. I was right. Because we were driven by fear. We were a nation driven by fear. We were a world driven by fear. And we focused on fear, and that's what happened. Our reactions showed that. Our focus was challenged. It was changed. Almost to the point of extinction. Did you find that your focus was off? That you couldn't focus like you could have maybe even in early January? Remember, January we set goals. These are my goals. March, April came around, you're like, throw those goals away. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't remember them at all. That's what happened. And Google said that because there was a 300% increase, according to Dr. Google, in people searching how to get your brain to focus. 300% increase. There was a 110% increase in how to focus better. What happened with all of this trauma, our brains went into a flight or fight response. This is you, this is your brain, this is your prefrontal cortex, say hi. This does a few things for you. It helps you plan. It gives you personality. Unless you've had a lobotomy. They don't do those anymore, as a rule, for lots of reasons. But it really contributes to who you are, helps you make decisions. But in stress, in a fight or flight situation, it shuts down. It's almost like it shifts gears. It follows a different recipe, puts on a different outfit. It acts different than our normal state of being. Worry throws us into this. It's basically survival mode. And you know what survival mode is because it's hard to rest. It's hard to calm down. You're looking for answers. You're looking for things. Now, this is the way God made us. He made us like that for a reason. And that reason is for short term. The problem is when we stay in that long-term stress, we lose our focus. You see, the longer disruption lasted, the longer challenged. We stayed in a fight or flight response, trying to understand the changes and survive the day, craving, looking for answers to survive. I know on Apple phones, there was almost like a running clock on how much screen time we were spending on our phones. It was just, it kept notifying me like, man, this thing's got to be wrong. But it wasn't. And I'll tell you why. Last week, sat down on the couch, and I keep a lot of windows open or apps open on anything I do. And if you know me, like, that probably fits. You've got like 50 windows open. That's me. Don't judge, Paul. You do that too? All right. Guess how many I had open on my phone? 20? Oh. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Whoa, come on now. You're judging me from the front row. 245. I had 245 things that I was trying to focus on. Interesting. But what happens is this. The immediate needs often upstage the focus of great plans. Again, resolutions, January. We killed our resolutions in March, April, and May, unless you were really focusing on them. Take, for instance, this profession. This guy here. He needs focus. Someone told me that Major League Baseball pitchers can pitch up to 106 miles per hour. It's not uncommon for them to pitch 92 to 96 miles per hour. A foul tip off a bat can go up to 130 miles per hour. And you've got the gentleman behind home plate, and his job is to watch the ball at all costs and make a decision based on what? His focus. If he turns away, he can't make a good call. You can Google bad calls. They're all over the place. I'm sure if you're a sports fan, you have a bad call in your mind. You're like, we should have won that. We should have a ring right now. I had a patient a while ago who was a professional hockey referee. And my question was, big guy, much bigger than me, just like stronger than me, probably the same height. But I'm like, what is it out there? He said, well, you've got these basically bullets flying at you, and you're being chased by bigger guys, and the crowd's never happy. The crowd's never happy. Because 50% of people don't like your call regardless, so they have all these different things that are grasping for their attention, for their focus, and they focus on the game at hand. That's their job, and that's why they get paid, because they're good at what they do. If they make a wrong call, they make a mistake, they look away, they hear someone call their name, and they're like, oh, what? They're on ESPN. They're on SportsCenter. And the game can change. And the same thing applies to our lives. If our focus goes from where it should be to a distraction, to an interruption, to a disruption, it can change the course of our lives just like that. Let's pick up the story of Joseph. We've been talking about Joseph. We've been in Genesis. So, all right, I've got some help over here. Tessa, tell me a little bit about Joseph. He went into jail, prison. How old was he? 17. Sold by who? His brothers. How many brothers? You remember? Help her out, church. 11? 11? Might have been 10. All right. And his dad was what? When he was, yes. I'm looking for sad. Dad was sad. He was sold, put in prison, and then he was blessed while he was in prison. What happened while he was in prison? Remember, somebody wanted to make him their boyfriend. Remember that? Potiphar's wife, church, wanted him to be a boyfriend. That didn't work out. He said no. Just say no. So because of that, we pick up in chapter 40 of Genesis, verse 1. And in chapter 40 of Genesis, verse 1, Joseph is in prison. And he's in prison with two people. And it starts like this. It says, sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker committed an offense against their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he put them into custody in the house of the captain of the guard and the prison where Joseph was confined. captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them, and he attended them. They continued for some time in custody. Now remember, Joseph did not choose to be there. He was sold by his family into slavery because they hated him. So he was sold. He was in a place that was not his choosing. This is a big disruption. He lost his family. He lost what he wanted to do. He was not being used. His calling was not being used right now. And then we see this. It says, and one night they both dreamed, the cupbearer and the baker and the king of Egypt, who were confined in prison, each his own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. Do you know what a troubled person looks like? I'm going to tell you to go home and look in the mirror. When you're troubled, look in the mirror and look at your eyes. Because when you see people that are troubled, if you look at their eyes, it will tell a story. But he saw that they were troubled, and he didn't stop there. He didn't stop there. He asked the Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody in his master's house, he said, why are your face downcast? Why do you look like that today? This is kind of funny. I'm going to just side for a second here. I can't tell you, and I don't think it's the hair, how many people in the last 2 months asked me if I was okay. They're like, boy, you look rough. Thank you. But it was nice the next question was the question that mattered because it was almost just like this, why are you downcast? Are you okay, though? It's okay to ask those questions. Why are your faces downcast, they said to him. We've had dreams, and there's no one to interpret them. So they had these dreams, and they wanted answers. Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me. So let's go back. Not in a place he wanted to be. Definitely not. Didn't have his coat, right, Tess? Wherever Tess is, she loves the robe. Did not have the robe. Did the right thing, ended up being back in prison. Somebody comes around, they're downcast. He still asks them if they're okay. He still reaches out to them, even though his life is beyond disrupted. It's not in a good place. He's not living for himself here. He's living for other people and for God. He says, do not all interpretations belong to God. Please tell them to me. Do you see that example, that in the middle of this disruption, he is still using his gift, his calling? He controlled the immediate needs of survival, of everything that was going around him to focus on the calling. He knew that the things that were taken away and changed, that they were the immediate. And just like us, we need to focus beyond that immediate thing that's in front of us sometimes. As believers, we are called to live in the Spirit, to dig down, focus on prayer, focus on others, focus on the Word. Disruptions will drive us to places you've never been. They will. Have you been so disrupted that you don't know who you are anymore? Some of you have. You've questioned what you're doing. You don't even know the next decision to make. You thought this is who you were, and the disruption comes in so big, it puts you not in the next lane, it puts you in the next county on a road you've never been on. You walk around and you don't know what to do next because your focus is so interrupted. But disruptions, they will steal your focus, your passion, your goals, and they'll put them in a blender. Oh, thank you, team. I have a blender. I need 2 volunteers to help me with the blender. Is that hand up? Come on, you're going to love this. Come on up. All right. Parents, you know what? Tessa asked me early if she could go against her cousin, so I'm going to pick Tess just because of this. Okay, so come on up.
Cousin.
What's that?
Fifth cousin.
Fifth cousin. Well, Tessa didn't tell me that, but I appreciate the details. Detail guy there. Fifth cousin. Fifth cousin, look out. Just kidding. Tessa, I need our goggles. All right, we have safety goggles for you, okay? All right, is there one more pair? All right, so I'm going to tell you the rules while she's bringing the goggles. You look perfect. All right, so this is a blender. Your hands cannot break the plane. They cannot go in here. No hands in there, okay? Got it? Yes? You have one of these at home. Keep the glasses on. I'm kidding. All right. So what we have here is we have a blender, and we have all of this stuff that we like in life. We're going to call this pre-disruption things. And in the pre-disruption, we have water. Do you like water? Can you pour some water in for me? I'll open it. Oh, you're good. No worries. You can spill it all over. We spill coffee in here. Water's not going to do anything. Pour it in there. You give like half, pour about half full. I'm happy with that. Nice job. You good with that, Tessa? Your glasses are off again. Focus. See what I did there? All right. Can you put those in? What are those? Okay, now they don't all go in. Can you put half of them in? Now last time, Tessa jumped the gun and may have ate something. Halfies. Okay. Now can you put the other half on top over here? Pour them out, but don't hit the floor. Right here. There is a point to all of this. All right. Who likes like oatmeal? Do you like oatmeal? No. You like oatmeal? All right. Anyone else? Oh, we've got some fans. All right. Can you just pour like a, I don't know, pour some in. Tess will tell you when to stop. There you go. There you go. That's enough, Tess. All right. So I'm just going to do a little line of oats there. Oh, who likes barbecue food? We like barbecue. All right. Thank you. All right, you want a shot at that one? That was the fun one. Give it a good squeeze. There you go. Perfect. Yep, I did it. All maintaining their own form. Do you like these? Oreos? Can you throw a few in there? Two's good. Would you like one? Mom and Dad's okay if he has an Oreo? All right. If you'd like an Oreo, you can have one. No? You're going to pass. All right. What are these? Swedish fish. I believe that God made these for us. They were in the Garden of Eden. I see your hand. I'm just kidding. Seriously, like don't say, Pastor said those are in the Garden of Eden. Throw them in there. Are you going to put them in or are you going to eat them? You play for these in dominoes. Gambling, I like that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right. How we looking there? Pretty good? Blah. All right. We need some fish over here because this is when we have focus. Okay? All right. Can you put the rest of that? All of it, but a little bit in. Yes. Perfect. That looks good. All right. All right. You ready? Can you hit the button? Right there. Push her down. Good. You want to hit it? All right. Let's see what we've got. Tessa didn't tell you we have to drink this, right?
I'm not drinking it.
No, I wouldn't either. How's it look?
It smells good.
It does not smell good.
It smells like pie
Sweet and sour. Oh, it does smell like a sweet and sour. We got our own recipe here. We'll be selling this on Amazon. All right, thank you so much.
And water.
That's my water.
I need that.
Here, take that bottle. There you go. Watch the cord. There you go. Thank you. I take that cap. Appreciate it. You were all set. Thank you. All right, so you saw what happened there. We said that disruptions will drive you to places you've never been. You've never created that before, I hope. But many of us have had these things, and when we stay focused, these things remain. When we stay focused on Jesus, our lives stay focused. Disruptions can come, though, at any time. And that's the challenge, isn't it? Because the disruption focus can come even after you've had a good victory. Sometimes that happens in life where you're doing really well, and then you turn around and you're like, oh my, there's a disruption. We see that in the Word. Go ahead and turn in your Bibles to 1 Kings. 1 Kings verse 18, or chapter 18. All of this is on YouVersion if you have the YouVersion app. All my notes are on there. So if you pull that up under events, you can just click through and add what you want. Although the blender is not on there, but it will be somewhere now that we have footage. So in 1 Kings 18, this is kind of the clash of the gods. We have Elijah, who's a prophet. And the prophet Elijah is going up against the prophets of Baal. And I say prophets because there's about 450 different people against Elijah, who is one. Basically, they are going to see whose God will react. Prophets of Baal go first, and they set up their altar. And like I said, you can read this on your own. I'm just paraphrasing it. They set up their altar, and what happens? Nothing. So they get a little more animated, and they get a little more animated, and you can read about what happens. And even at one point, Elijah goes, what's your problem? Is your God out to lunch? Is he not focused on you? Does he have someone else to deal with? And then it comes to the point where it's Elijah's turn, and what he does, he sets up his altar, and in his altar, he digs a trench around it. And what's he do with that trench? Fills it with water. And in that altar, he's got 12 stones. And then it's set to go, and he says, let's pour some water on this. So he pour water on it, and what's he say? Let's pour water on it again. And then one more time. So 3 times they've doused this with water, and here's what happens. Then Elijah said to all the people, come here to me. They came to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord, which had been torn down. He took 12 stone, one for each tribe descended from Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, your name shall be Israel. With the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he dug a trench around it, large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. So that's about 10 gallons. And he talked about the water in verse 34, and then verse 36. At the time of the sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed. And this is what he prayed. He said, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and have done these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so that these people will know, Lord, that you are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and licked up all the water in the trench. So Elijah was successful as he clashed against the prophets of Baal. Now, this was a great victory for Elijah. And then I'm going to have you keep reading, and if you keep reading in 1 Kings 19, this is how that chapter starts. Now, Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Oh, I didn't tell you that. He killed 450 prophets after he was successful. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them. Verse 3, Elijah ran for his life. His focus, he was so focused on the power of God and God's ability to beat the prophets of Baal and to show them that God was alive, that God was active, that he asked them 3 times to put water on it. He was laser focused. And then all of a sudden he gets this, I'm going to kill you, and he's disrupted. He's so disrupted that he runs and hides. This Iron Man of God derailed by one person, Jezebel. He took on a whole nation, and he's afraid of one person now. He ran for his life not because of where he was in the Spirit, which he did in the end of the last chapter. If you read that, I didn't even talk about that. He was Spirit-filled, and he ran ahead. But he was so full of fear that he ran for his life, total opposites. His focus shifted from being faithful to being fearful. The world is teeming with distractions, with disruptions that will rob you of your life and your calling. Don't let it. Don't let it. As we close, remember that the immediate needs often upstage the focus of great plans. Here's how you stay focused in the middle of a disruption. First thing you do is stay humble. Stay humble. Ephesians 4:2. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. We saw that with Joseph. He was humble. He reached out to people in need. He could have been bitter. He had like a recipe for bitterness. Family got rid of him. Did the right thing. Got put in jail. He just was not winning. He wasn't bitter. He stayed with his calling because his focus was on God. Ours needs to be the same. The next thing we see is serve others. And we saw that with Joseph as well. Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people. Ephesians 6, verse 7. And as believers, we need to live in the Spirit. Since we live by the Spirit, Galatians 5:25 and 26, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking and envying each other. Did you know that you can provoke someone else on social media? You can. It's called trolling. They troll for you. And then as soon as you click share like, something that will get a buzz, they get more feedback, they get more likes. Regardless of what it is, their needs are met. At the same time, we're provoking others and not lifting each other up. So I want you to be careful of that. Paul Hyde did a sermon I think it was last year, on social media, and it is on our Facebook. We can pull that up and repost that too, so you can see that. But it goes over just some good ideas to understand some of those social media things that maybe you don't understand it, like what it is and how to use it best to glorify God. Did a great job with that. The other thing you need to do is crush worry, kill worry. Worry keeps your prefrontal cortex buzzing, okay? It shuts it down. It's not functioning at its normal pace. It engages that fight or flight because as we worry, we're trying to do something. We're trying to survive. That's why we worry. Remember, we said that when you worry, about 9% of actual worry happens in your life. 9% is what research says. The rest of it doesn't happen. A lot of stuff that people worry about, I think it was 25%, is stuff that already happened. Don't let that happen to you. Matthew 6:31, so do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? The last thing to stay focused is to set goals. Set some goals for yourself. Hebrews 12:1, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Focus is worth your time. Focus is worth your effort. Focus is worth your calling. I believe that. I want to end with this scripture. I can't think of better words for you today than this. 1 John 3:18. Let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Put some action to your faith. Stand with me, church, as we close. Worship team.